All right, so today we're talking about how to pick races for your season. So, kind of going through the process of what do you want to think through, what considerations you want to have, and how do you do it. So, first, number one most important thing is you want to make sure you pick your goals. Pick your goals first, then pick your races based on those goals that you've set for yourself. So, kind of the way that I've found it shakes out is there's two different goals that most people have. So, the first one is you want to run a race that's either longer than you've ever done before, or you want to do a distance you've already done, but you want to do it faster. So that's number one. Number two is you want to do races. You want to do lots of races. You want to experience the races. You want to get out and just do a lot of races. So both of those are awesome goals. They're great ways to kind of keep yourself motivated and keep going. But you need to have one or the other. You can't have both. And if you try to have both, it usually ends up in injury, burnout, and all that other bad stuff that we try to avoid as athletes. So you need to make sure, really think about those goals and define whether you want to go longer and faster, or longer or faster than you've ever gone before, or if you want to do lots of races. So let's follow this one first. So if you want to do a race and you want to do it longer or faster, you're going to pick your A race to start with. So find that race that you want to perform the best at, whether that's if you've never run a 100-mile race before, if you've never run a marathon before. That's going to be your A race. If you have a race that, or a distance you've done before, but you want to get faster at it, you want to perform well, you want to do well at that race, that's going to be your A race as well. So after you've picked that A race, that's the race that you're training for. Ideally, you'd like to have at least 24 weeks from today until that race to get in a kind of a full training phase, all the cycles that we want to get in. And then in that training leading up to that race, we want to pick 1 to 2 training races. So those races are essentially, I'm focusing on this a little bit more from kind of an ultra running standpoint, but this works for a lot of other things as well. But basically, those training races are going to be a long run with aid stations. So you're going to get out there, you're not racing, it's a race, but you're out there, you're practicing your nutrition, you're practicing going through the aid stations, you're hanging out with other people, and you're just getting in a long run to leading you to that important race that you want to perform really well at. You also ideally want to make sure that it's terrain specific. So you want to make sure if it's a hilly mountainous trail run, you want to make sure that those training races you're doing are setting you up for that and they're a hilly mountainous trail run. If you're training for a race running on track or a treadmill or anything like that, that's what you want to train for. And finally, you want to make sure that these kind of training races are far enough apart for you to recover in between them, and also far enough away from your goal race that you have enough time to adequately kind of train and taper. So that's the longer, faster route. If your goal is to do lots and lots of races, your number one thing is kind of think through things. Pick out some races that you think would be really interesting. Before you go and jump and sign up for all of them, make yourself a list, and then I like to take that list and organize that list by date. So look at it kind of over the course of the summer, throw it into a calendar, and take a look. So in terms of kind of rules to follow this approach, first off, you want to make sure minimum 3 weeks between each of the races. That gives you enough time to recover for a week or two from the one race, have a little bit of a taper, and then go and do that next race. So if you're packing them in like back-to-back weekends all the time, you're already in a deficit from the first one. It's going to be really tough to recover from the second one, so that's going to be a big stretch for your body. Next up is shorter is better. So you want to make sure that, like, if you wanted to race a whole bunch of 10Ks, you could race a whole bunch of 10Ks not too badly if you've done a lot of distance and training past that. If you wanted to race a whole bunch of 100-mile races, probably not the best idea because it's such a big stress on the body. The amount of time you actually need to recover after that race is going to be even longer. So if you want to do a lot of races, pick shorter races because it's easier to recover from and you're going to be able to do more of them. And then you need to make sure you have no pressure on yourself to perform. So if you're trying to run those races faster than if you're trying to actually race them, if you're trying to kind of get out there and perform really, really well, but do that repeatedly over the course of the season, you're trying to put yourself in this category here and just do a whole bunch of that. So not ideal that way. And then finally, you need to focus on recovery. So in between each of those races that you're doing, your main goal shouldn't be, I need to pack in that last little bit of fitness so that I can do well at my next race. It should be, I need to recover from this race so that I'm ready to go for my next race. So you're not, over the course of a season, if you structure it this way, over the course of a season, you're not going to be building as much fitness. You're not going to be moving yourself kind of to that next level as an athlete. You're going to be focusing more on doing lots of races and having an awesome time and doing all the kind of the experience side of things. But you need to focus on your recovery as much as you can, because to get in all those races and stay injury-free the whole time, you're going to need to recover really well. So as a really quick example, while I was writing this out on the whiteboard, phone rings, and a athlete that we coach who is currently training, the next 2 races coming up are a 12-hour 100-mile on a treadmill and a 6-day on a track. So those are the 2 races coming up in the next 9 months or so. And they were asking if they could race a rad mountain race with tons of climbing, steep scree slopes. Helmets are mandatory for the race. And it's a super cool race, but it's pretty out there. And that race is 3 weeks before a 6-day track race where all the fast people are going to be there and performance is the number one goal. So just to run through this example, we are in the longer, faster category because we're trying to go as fast as this athlete's ever gone for 6 whole days. So we're on the side where we want to perform really well at that race. So we're going to get rid of everything over here. So first off, we've picked our A race already. So that's the 6-day track race. Then we want to pick 1 to 2 training races in the lead up to that. So the first and only training race that we currently have on the schedule is running for 12 hours and hopefully doing 100 miles on a treadmill, because treadmill, track, kind of similar surfaces. So that first one, it's technically not going to be a long run with 8 stations because we're going to go super fast. But so that one's kind of out the window already. But in terms of the mountain race, tossing that one in, so it's definitely not terrain specific. That's going to be a very different scree slopes, tons of up, tons of down, bushwhacking, trailblazing, and it's 3 weeks. So there's our recovery point. 3 weeks before our race on the track. So it's not terrain specific. It's way too close, and we already got one pretty hard training race in the way on the lead up to that. So my expert opinion as a coach was probably not the best idea for us to race it. So we need to kind of drop that one from the schedule. So that was just fantastic because I already had this written out on the board. So I got to read through the board and be like, hey, here you go. Here's exactly what you need to do. I have a little flow chart. So yeah, that's how to pick races. Most important number one thing is you just want to make sure you pick those goals. That's going to be the best thing to do before you sign up for any races without thinking it through. Pick your goals, figure out what you want to do, and then follow the chart down, then sign up for your races after you've done all of that.